We're on Nun Amud Aleph, 50a. And we're in the middle of the page. We're starting line from the wide lines. It's about 10 lines up from the wide lines. So it's Mantana. What we learned before was a brisa that Rabbi Bar Chana taught in front of Rav, and it had to do with pieces of wood that came off a palm tree. So we said that it needed to be designated somehow that for use in order for it not to be muktzah. So the Tanakama held that tzarich l'kasher, it has to be tied. You have to do an action to make it designated for use. Shimon Gamliel says, no, you just have to think, consider it, what you're going to use it for, and then that's good enough. So we explained there was a third opinion that we quoted in a brisa. We quoted, and not in a brisa, a statement from Ravasi that said you had to use it once. So that we explained. Now we're going back and we're going to discuss who's the opinion that is the Tanakama that says you have to do an action. In other words, we have no name associated with it, and we're trying to figure out who is that anonymous opinion that says you have to do something. It's called the Tanakama. Tanakama, the first author, we said, who is it? Man Tana de Palagala de Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Who is the Tanakama that argues with Reb Shimon ben Gamliel? Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that you make it not muktzah just by thinking about it, and the Tanakama says you have to do an action. Who is that? So the Gemara answers, it's Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva. Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva is not a son of Rabbi Akiva. You know exactly when he was, but sometimes I think it says Akavia. Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva, that's who it is. The Chiyasur Rav Dimi Amar Ziri. When Rav Dimi came, Rav Dimi was one of the travelers, and he would travel from Israel to Babylonia, and he'd bring with him statements. Amar Zeiri, he said in the name of Zeiri. Maybe this is the other way. Amar Rabbi Chanina, he said Zeiri said in the name of Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina is still the early Amira. He says, Pamach Hasalach Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva l'makam echad. One time, Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva went to a certain place. He found in that place wooden pieces from a palm tree, branches from a palm tree, and they were cut off for wood, for firewood. He told the students, imagine or think about that you're going to use these tomorrow. And I don't know if it was because it was a wedding or if it was because of house of mourning. Now, I guess it was some situation where they needed a lot of seats. Now, the fact that he had to add that in, that I don't know if it was a house of mourning or a house of or a wedding, that's because over there that's a special instance to treaty. Whatever the case is, you're busy. Whether it's whether the person is making a wedding or making or it's a Beis Avel, he's busy. Maybe he's busy and he's overwhelmed in his mind, and he's not going to be able to go and tie up wood chairs to prepare like that. So in that instance, all you have to do is think about it. But here, in a regular case where the person is not concerned. He is not involved like that. Kosher in, like kosher lai. You have to tie it. That's our raya. That's our support, our source for the Tanakama that argues on Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel that you have to tie it. What's the support? What is the support? Because he said that you don't have to tie it only in a case where it's an of a base aval or base mishta. That means in a regular case you do have to tie it. Okay, that's the Tanakama that holds you have to tie it. Amar Rav Yehuda, Machnes Adam Malaiku Pasiyaf Arvaisa Bakal Tzarkai. Rav Yehuda says that a person can fill up a box of dirt, and then he can do with it whatever he needs on Shabbos. What would you need dirt for? So if you want to cover over something, you can sprinkle this dirt on it, a spit or soya, something that's dirty. You cover it with dirt, and so the problem is that dirt is muktzah. But this person collected it beforehand. He makes it not muktzah. Darash Marzucha Mishmeid Marzucha Rabba. Marzucha taught in the name of Marzucha Rabba. But you have to put it in a designated corner, a designated location. If you just leave it on the floor, then people are going to walk and it's going to be bottled to the floor. And it's going to go back to being muktzah. It has to be put in a container and put somewhere. Amar Rabbanan Kamid Rav Papa Kaman. The Rabbanan said in front of Rav Papa, who is that like? It must be Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Because we have a machlekes Tanakama and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel if you need an action to make something not muktzah. Tanakama hold that you need an action. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says you don't need an action. Now, putting dirt into a box is not considered an action of usage. See, tying wood is making it into a chair. Okay, so you made it into a chair. You tied it together so you could sit on it. But putting dirt in a box doesn't show that you're using this dirt for something permissible. You would need to do something with the dirt that would show that this dirt is a permissible use. You're not doing that. It must be, this is the opinion of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel that says you only need to think about it. But for some reason, you also need to collect it and think about it. Amr Rav Papa responds to that. He says, Afilu Temer Rabbanan. It's not so. You could even say that this is the opinion of Rabbanan that require an action. And Adkan like Amr Rabbanan de Mir Maisa, the Rabbanan only said that you need an action, only something that you can do an action with. But something that you don't do an action with, what type of action are you supposed to do with it? It's not a utensil. You have to already sprinkle it on the floor to cover something for it not to be muktzah. I don't have an opportunity. It's not like I can make a chair and then sit on it, or I can tie it as a bed and lay on it. I don't have any action that I can do with it to make it not muktzah other than put it in a container. So that would be enough, even according to the Rabbanan that require an action. I'll give you an example. I don't know the halacha, but on Sukkot, outside, so the tablecloth always blows, especially if you have fans, and if you have a plastic tablecloth over it. So you can tie knots, whatever, all of that. But one year I had like these nice stones. I found like different stones, put them on the table. Now, stones are muktzah. I don't know what they do in Mea Sharim when they throw rocks. I know how they do that. Officially, stones are muktzah. But I use these stones as like a paperweight. So how do you turn a stone from a stone into a paperweight? What do you have to do? There's one of the halacha books said that you have to actually make a change in the stone. You have to put tape on it, or so you have to do something to it, or else it's still considered a stone. I don't know. I don't know what the halacha is, but anyway, that's what we're discussing here. You have something that you don't have an action,
Wouldn't it be simply enough to use it during the week?
Yeah, that sounds like that should be good if you used it before. But for some reason, that's what it said. It was the big book of the Lamites Malachas, that 4-volume book. That's what I remember. It was years ago. But anyway, that's an example of what we're discussing here. The Gemara says, Nemeketanai. Let's say that something that doesn't have an action that you can do with it, if it's enough just to collect it or just to think about it, if that should be enough, even according to the opinion that holds that it requires an action. Let's say it's a machlekes tanaim. It says, Bakol chafen es hakelim. You can clean, wash, rinse, scrub kelim on Shabbos. Chutz mikli kesef begartikon. Except silver, you can't clean with gartikon. I looked that up. It's cream of tartar, which is taken from the wine barrels. Some sort of residue from the wine barrels. Rashi over here says, "Shgadol b'chavish shel yain v'kernlei alum." It's called the alum. Now, you're not allowed to use this cream of tartar to clean silver because not only does it clean it, but it also smooths the silver. I have to ask Moshe Pekar. And that's an issue of memachik. Memachik is making something smooth. The same issue of using a bar soap on Shabbos. I think that's the same issue. Anyway, here it's making it smooth. Okay. So, ha neter v'chol muter. Okay, the whole issue of silver is making it smooth. That's only going to come from gartikon. What about neter, which is natron, which is like baking soda? I think maybe it is baking soda, and sand. That's allowed. Now it is possible that that's also going to smooth it, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It's not a concern. But there's another source of Brisa that says that you can't use natron and sand on silver. It's usher. It's going to smooth it out. My lab b'hakamiflgi. This must be the machlekes. Demar sever bin and meiser. One holds that not because of smoothing it. We don't know how to establish if it's smoothing it or not. We're saying the issue over here is not the smoothing of it. The issue over here is that neter, natron, and sand is muktzah. Because what are you going to do to it to make it not muktzah? There's no sort of action that you could do. So what did you collect it and you put it in a container? So one opinion holds that's not enough. It's still muktzah. The other opinion holds that no, that is enough. So you see, something that you can't do an action with, just collecting it is a machlekes tanaim. Because how are we getting to this? Because we have a contradiction between brises. If it's allowed, that must be a machlekes tanaim. And we even understand what the machlekes is. If something that you can't do an action with beforehand, if it's enough just to collect it. The Gemara says lie. It's not definitive that's the machlekes. The kuli amalei bin mais. Everyone holds, like Rav Papa said, that you don't need an action, and it's fine just to collect it for leikash. And it's still not a contradiction between the brises because we have two opinions. That's how we resolve contradictions, is we make it into two opinions. So we say it's two different cases. Ha Rabbi Yehuda, ha Rabbi Shimon, or you take that out. Ha Rabbi Yehuda. One is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, Damar Davar Shein Miskaven is Aser. You're not intending to smooth out the silver with this natron and sand. It could be it's going to get smoothed out, but that's not your intention. Well, Rabbi Yehuda holds that even if it's not your intention, it's still Aser. And Reb Shimon, Damar Davar Shein Miskaven is Mutter. Reb Shimon holds that if you don't intend for that, it's going to be permissible, unless it's a psik resha. Psik resha is the exception to Reb Shimon's rule. Even Reb Shimon would agree, psik resha, to cut off a chicken's head and say that I didn't intend for it to die, I just wanted to play with the head. So that's so it's so 100% that that's going to happen. You can't claim that I didn't intend for that. So in our case, if you're going to use gartakain, which is the cream of tartar, that's a psikresha. That's for sure it's going to smooth it out. So therefore, even Reb Shimon holds it's aser. But neter and chol, natron and sand, it's not a psikresha. It's not definite that it's going to happen. It's not 100%. So therefore, Reb Shimon's opinion would be that it's mutter, and Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that it's aser. Someone wanted to say if you forgot to turn off the light in your refrigerator on Shabbos, so when you open the door, you don't intend to turn on the light. You intend to open the door. It happens to be that the light's going to go on, but that's not what you're intending to do. So that's considered a davar she'eino miskaven. The problem is that every single time you open the door, if the light bulb is there, it's going to turn on. So that you can't do it because it's psikresha. So someone wanted to say, but could be the light bulb burnt out. So it's not a psikresha. But I don't know if to that extent the psikresha, it doesn't have to be 100%. You know, it's not 100%, but if it's 99%, it's already a psikresha. Of course, there's things like crazy things that could happen. That okay. B'mayu kimta lahad shari. How are you establishing this that it became permissible? Reb Shimon, the one that holds that it's permissible is Reb Shimon's opinion. However, if you read further in the one that says that it's allowed to use neter and chol, if you read further in that brisa, it says but you can't wash your hair with it. Problem with washing your hair with this type of shampoo is that it could remove hair. Now, you're not intending to remove the hair, it's just a type of shampoo that some hair falls out. The Reb Shimon, if it's the opinion of Reb Shimon, Mishra Kashari, it should be permissible. It can't be that brisa that holds neter and chol is permissible as Reb Shimon, because the brisa by silver, to use this to wash silver, because when it comes to washing hair, it's aser. And according to Reb Shimon, it should be mutter, because Reb Shimon holds it's a davar she'eino miskaven. Davar she'eino miskaven should be mutter. Okay, we turn the page to Tanan. How do we know that Reb Shimon holds washing hair is permissible? Because we have a Mishnah. Is it actually a Mishnah? The Tanan. It's taught in a Mishnah. Nazir chayfe from mefasfis. A Nazir is allowed to use sand on sand to wash his hair. And, or this netter, excuse me. Mefasfis, and then he can comb his hair with his hand, like with his fingers. Now, a Nazir is not allowed to remove his hair. So, he's allowed to use his fingers, and he's allowed to use this on Shabbos. Oh, and he's allowed to use this in the weekday to wash his hair. Now, if it's a Eina Miskaven, why is he allowed to do this? It's possible that hair could come out. So the answer is because it's Eina Miskaven and Reb Shimon allows it. Well, if Reb Shimon allows a Nazir to wash his hair on a weekday, then he should also allow anyone to wash his hair on Shabbos, even if hair is going to fall out. It's not a problem. You're allowed to wash your face on Shabbos, and you can use some sort of detergent. And if hair falls out, well, that wasn't your intention. Why does Reb Shimon say that it's not allowed? It's a problem here. It can't be Reb Shimon. Avalei Seirek, but you're not allowed a comb. You use an actual comb. Comb is going to for sure take out hair. Ella Hava Rabbi Yehuda, we have to say that both prices are Rabbi Yehuda, even the one that allows neter v'chol. How's that possible? There's two Tanoim that taught it over, two teachings in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. Haitana Alibid Rabbi Yehuda Savar Gar, Haitana Alibid Rabbi Yehuda Savar Leigar. One opinion holds, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that holds davar she'eino miskaven as aser, holds that it's going to remove hair. that it's going to, not to remove here, that it's going to smooth the silver. Another opinion holds that it's not going to smooth the silver. That's why we have two opinions over there. But everyone holds that you're not allowed to use it on the hair because it could be it's going to remove hair. So apparently, either there's different types of sand or there's different types of silver. But we have two statements in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. If you're allowed to use sand or natron to clean silver on Shabbos in your soap when you're washing the becher, you're allowed to use this because it could smooth it down. Okay, two statements in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. The Mayu Kimtik Rabbi Yehuda, you said that it's according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Seifa says, Aval panav yadav raglav mutter. But you can wash your face, your hands and feet. So you can't wash your head. But your face itself, you can wash. Problem is that Hamaver Seir is going to be removing hair from his beard. We said before he can't wash his hair. We said he can wash his face or his feet and hands, but he's going to be removing hair from either his, hands. The main concern is his face. Removing hair from his beard. The Gemara says, if you want, you can say it's talking about that it's a child. He's allowed to wash his face. If you want, you can say it's a woman. If you want, you can say it's a eunuch. Doesn't have hair on his face or on his hands and feet either, probably. Okay, so that's why it was allowed to wash the face. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afar levinta shari. Powdered frankincense is permissible. To wash, even if he has a beard, I guess it doesn't remove the hair. Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, Kuspa the Yasmin Shari. Rabbi Yosef says, this is also a residue. It's a little bit confusing here. If it's jasmine, Yasmin means jasmine. But Rashi says that it has something to do with the residue, what's left over, the pulp from sesames. So apparently they would mix it together, jasmine and sesames, and they would make some sort of soap out of it. It says this is permissible. Rabbi Yosef says that this is permissible. Amar Rava says, Afar pilpuli shari. If they would make powdered pepper, I guess it's black pepper, they would use this to wash his face. It would probably make him sneeze, but I guess it would get him clean. Amar Rav Sheshes barda shari. Rav Sheshes says that barda is permissible. The Gemara doesn't know what barda is at first. It says my barda. What is barda that you just said is permissible? Rabbi Yosef explains that there's three ingredients here. Tilsa Allah. A third of it is aloe, plant, some sort of soap. In the Steinsaltz, he didn't say it's like aloe vera. There's some other plant that he said that it was. It's an aloe plant, but it's a ice plant, he calls it. An ice plant, yeah. There's a picture. If I can show you. Anyway. Cute. So that's one of the ingredients. Tilsa asa. A third of it is asa is hadassim, myrtle. Tilsa sigli. And a third of it is violets. Okay, and this is some sort of soap that you're allowed to use. Rab Nechemi Bar Yosef Rab Nechemi Bar Yosef says that once you increase the aloe, then there's more of a concern that it's going to remove here. So as long as you don't get past the majority of aloe, then it's okay. But you're risking it when you increase the aloe. So up to half, up to majority is still okay. Okay, a new sugi here. They asked Rav Sheshes, what about crushing or cracking olives on Shabbos? There's two opinions why you're doing this. One opinion is that Rashi says you're trying to get the olive sweeter. And the question is if you're allowed to crush it on Shabbos. We'll see in a moment that there's a bigger issue. The other opinion is that he's trying to get the oil from the olive. So Amalahu he said back, the Rav Sheshes says back to them, are you allowed to do this in a weekday? There's a problem of ruining food. Okay, now according to Rashi, what you're ruining here is that there's the liquid of the olive that's getting lost when you crush it. According to the other opinion, there's the rest of the olive that's getting lost when you crush it, because you're going for the liquid that's coming out. But apparently this is going to argue on Shmuel. Damar Shmuel, Eisadim called Sarka Bepas. Shmuel says you're allowed to use food to assist you with whatever you need. You can use bread to hold up a plate or whatever. The Gemara says, Amri Pas, Lemisa. No, he wasn't saying that you're wasting the food. Shmuel was saying that even though it's not respectful to the food, but you were still allowed to do that because the food wasn't getting lost. The bread was still edible. But Hani Meisi. But over here, you're crushing it on a rock. You're not going to either eat the olive or you're going to lose the juice, whichever the pshat is. You're ruining it. Okay, Ameimar. Tosfos explains that Rashi's concern, that the concern of the Gemara originally that they're asking Rav Sheshes is, are you making the olive edible by crushing it, making it sweet? Apparently fresh olives are not really edible. So when you would crush it, you would make it edible. So you're turning something from inedible to edible. Is that considered shivoy oichlin? Your tikkunay uchla. You're allowed to do that on Shabbos to make something edible. And his response was, "How you're not allowed to do it during the weekday." Okay.
You're not allowed to do it during the weekday because of wasting food?
Because of wasting food. I guess there was a better way of doing it where you didn't waste it. I guess. Tosfos himself doesn't agree with that. Tosfos holds that you're taking the liquid out of the food, out of the olive, because you want to use the liquid for something. You want to use the liquid as a detergent, and that would follow the flow of the Gemara better. You want to use the liquid as a detergent, and you're wasting the whole olive, and you're just getting this this liquid that comes out of the olive. Yeah, they had to make their own soaps, not like today. People say, I can't make soap. That has to come from a factory. But apparently you can make soap with a little of this, a little of that. You can figure it out in the kitchen. You can make your own soaps. We get this thing called soap nuts. It's a nut, you boil it and you make your own soap. Okay. That guy, that chemist, Dr. Dr. Bronner. Remember those soaps? Yeah, the whole, all his theories he wrote on the bottle. What's his name?
Ranover?
No. there was these soaps that he was a Jewish guy, a chemist from Germany. He made soaps, and he wrote all his ideas on the bottle. You'd be in the shower, you'd read all his theories. It's like loaded with. It's like a whole article. Yeah, that's it. The professor has it over there. It's good soap, but it's all like natural stuff. He has his ingredients. I assume you could read the label. I don't know. Okay. Ameimar Marzucha Ravashi Aviyasvi. Ameimar Marzucha and Ravashi were sitting. Isla Kamayu Barda. So they brought Barda. Barda has aloe and violet. What was the third ingredient? Third ingredient was myrtle. Okay, so Ameimar Ravashi Mashu. Ameimar and Ravashi washed their hands or face. Marzucha Mashu. Marzucha didn't wash his hands or face. He didn't use it. He didn't use the barda. Amrulay several Amar Damar Rav Sheshes Barda Shari. What's the problem? Rav Sheshes said it's mutter. Has a hechsher on it from Rav Sheshes. So Amrlahu Rav Mordechai Bar Minei Damar. No, don't take out what Marzucha is doing. Dafila b'chol nami loy. Nami loy svirlei. He also doesn't hold of using it in the weekday. Why? Savala kihadatanya. He holds like a certain brisa. It says Magaradam gildi tzeva gildi makashal basar. A person can remove. He can clean himself to remove dirt, excrement, or a scab. You can move it from his skin. Bishvil tzari if it's causing him pain, discomfort. In bishvil liyafa is, but if he's trying to make himself beautiful, he's putting on cosmetics. I don't know, like creams. Then it's usher. You're not allowed to make yourself look like a woman. And he felt that this was like making his some sort of facial cream or something that was going to make his skin more soft or something. What about the other opinions? What do they hold? They hold that a man is allowed to use those sort of cosmetics. It says no. Kihad Tanya, they hold inu kaman. So Savru Kihad Tanya, they hold like the brisa that says Rechus Adam Pandem Yad Vragla B'chol Yayim B'Shul Kaineh. You're allowed to wash your hands and face every day for your master, for Hashem. Mishum Shenemar Kopal Hashem Lamaneo, that everything Hashem made is for His honor. You're supposed to make yourself look nice to honor Hashem. Okay. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, "Kupa matal tzidam," and you twist the box to the side, and then you take the pot out of the box. What happened was he had a box that had in it insulation that was muktzah. So if you're going to take the pot out, the insulation is going to fall. There's going to be a problem of putting it back in. So what you can do is you turn it to the side, and somehow that would help. So Amar Rab Abba, Amar Rab Chia Barashi, possibly Amar Rav. This very nice. Okay, so it says like this: Hakol Maidim. Everyone agrees that if the insulation collapsed inside this box, because there was a box, insulation in a circle with the pot that went inside it. So if the insulation fell in, so then there's a problem of putting it back up. Tanan, it was taught in the Mishnah, Chacham say that you're allowed to take it out and you're allowed to put the pot back in. Echidami, what's the case? Idlei neskalkala guma, if the guma is the hole, that was made, it's not actually a hole, it's built upwards from the insulation. Insulation here was a type of soft cloth that was going to be used for later, that was going to be used for weaving. So that's why it was muktzah. So, but now it's a stuffing sort of, right now it just looks like stuffing. So it was like pillows stuffing. So it was surrounding the pot. I'm saying you can take it out and put it back in. So it says that's good if the niskalkala, if loy niskalkala guma, if the hole is still there. In other words, the form that was made in this as it was surrounding the pot. Shaper kamiraban, then the rabban are right. Elalav, rather, but it must be afapi the niskalkala guma. There's machlekes here, then it must be that even if the guma collapsed, the chacham still hold you can put it back. You just told me that everyone holds that it's usher to put it back. It says loylam d'loy niskalkala. Really, the chachamim only say you're allowed to put it back if it didn't collapse, the stuffing. Over here, the whole machlekes is, do I suspect before I even take it out? It goes like this. Marsa v'chayshin shemen niskalkala guma. Marsa v'rein chayshin. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that you're not allowed to take it out because we suspect it's going to fall in and then it's going to collapse and then you're going to try to put it back in and you're going to end up moving it and you're not allowed to. The Chum say no, you're allowed to take it out and if we don't suspect that it's going to collapse and you can put it back in. If it collapsed, then you can't. But everyone agrees that it's muktzah. If it collapses, you can't fix it. You can't put it back into position. The whole question is, were you allowed to take it out in a normal way? Originally, with a concern that it may collapse, and then you may try to put it back in. Okay, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, "Hai silikusta." This silikusta, the Steinsaltz translates as a daffodil. I don't know how it's translated over there in the art scroll. Do you have a translation?
It just says is a beautiful fragrant plant, and people would fill pots with moist earth and insert these plants into it, and they would pick it up and smell it and put it back.
The Steinsaltz says more confidence. So he gives names to makes decisions, which is easier for me. Okay, it's a daffodil, or it's a plant that has a fragrance. So datsa, shalfa v'hada datsa. If it was pushed into the dirt and then taken out from the dirt and pushed back into the dirt, sharia, you're allowed to take it out again. And because it was already, a hole was already made in the dirt, and we don't have a concern that through taking it out and putting it in, you're going to make a hole in the dirt. There's already a location where it fits right in. It's a problem of mezes offer, of moving dirt on the ground. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to smooth out the ground, or you're not allowed to move the dirt. Maybe even if it's not that, maybe there's a concern. Is a concern muktzah? Is a concern of chayrish? Moving the dirt itself is muktzah, or maybe it's a concern of chayrish. What did they say in Steinsaltz? What are they concerned of? Making a hole, or are they concerned of moving something that's muktzah?
They're talking, it looks like, about the hole and whether or not it keeps its shape or not.
Okay. In the last case, it was muktzah. That hole keeping its shape was a muktzah issue, because we were discussing the stuffing that collapses. Okay. So
I'm trying to recall, what is the issue if pot is removed and the insulation collapses?
If it collapses,
what's the issue with then? It's an issue of chazara, isn't it?
Well, actually, Hatmana doesn't have an issue of chazara. That we're going to see in the next Mishnah.
So what is the issue if the stuffing or whatever the insulation
The issue over there is that this type of stuffing was designated for other use. Was muktzah. This stuffing was muktzah. Now you used it to surround the pot. If you even to get it out, even to get the cover off, you had to do it in an abnormal way. So when you take it out, and you're going to want to put it back in, if it's going to collapse, then you're going to end up moving the stuffing to. In other words,
so it became muktzah by taking the pot out?
No, it's muktzah even beforehand. The only thing is you're not going to move it.
I got it.
So it would be nice if you had a perfect foam, whatever they use to fit exactly your pot. You take the pot out, it fits right back in. But that's not what you have. You have these type of shmatas and stuff that happen to be surrounding your pot that's inside a box. You put the pot in and you surround it with this, you stuff everything around it. Mm-hmm. Now you take the pot out, everything falls in.
So you caused the muktzah thing to move.
Right.
Now, even though you didn't intend.
Now, if you're taking it out and you're causing it to move, so that's tiltul menatzah. That wasn't a real concern. A real concern is that when you put it back in, you think like you're not moving it, then you're really moving it. So chayshishin that you might end up moving it when you're going to try to return it. That's what it seemed. Yeah, so it's like a doubly removed concern. When I'm taking it out right now, I have no problem. It's only I have a concern that you may end up putting it back. And when you put it back, it may have collapsed. And when it collapsed, you're going to end up moving it to fix it.
I've always understood the concept of muktzah to be that Shabbos should look and feel like Shabbos.
Right.
And I'm having a little difficulty applying that concept to this circumstance.
So that's the original decree of muktzah. That people can't just lift up things and do work and organize their house and do all of that on Shabbos. So that was the original decree of muktzah. But then the muktzah was relaxed. And muktzah was only left with certain categories. Things that really have no use and things that you won't move because they're precious. The original muktzah held all of those categories. That held you can't do anything, and no kalim, nothing, because Shabbos needs to be rest, and you can't. Right. That was the original one, but then it got relaxed, and it was left with this a bunch of types of muktzah. Muktzah machmas kufa, muktzah machmas isser, muktzah machmas malacha, muktzah machmas mias, or whatever. There's some categories, and then each one has its own halachas. The Beis Yosef in the beginning of Shin Ches, which is the Hilchas Muktzah, he actually itemizes the different types of muktzah. How many exceptions we have? He says there's 5 types. There's 13 exceptions for this one. And when you read it through, you'll see these gemaras. You can look in all the modern Sfarim, you'll see it also, but you won't see the originals in the modern Sfarim. You have to look in the original to see what we're learning.
You said Shin Ches?
Shin Ches. Look at if you have a tour Beis Yosef, look in the Beis Yosef at the beginning of Shin Ches. It'll be a review of all of these stories. Putting dirt into a bucket and rocks that were flat or whatever that could be used.
This discussion was hard for me to follow because it kept going between a malaka and muktzah.
Right.
And I think of those as being on separate tracks of analysis.
Yeah. Well, it begins with the malacha, and because it's a malacha, it's muktzah. That's one type of muktzah. Let's say a keli shemalach delis, anything that a hammer. There's a kelish malachta lesser. So because there's a malacha that this could be done with this, so therefore a hammer is muktzah. So that's an example of, it starts with a malacha, but the muktzah follows. Then it turns out that a hammer is not really muktzah. We didn't, l'tzerich gufay, l'tzerich mekaymay. You can use a hammer to crack whatever, a nut, if you eat nuts on Shabbos, or whatever.
Okay. Thank you. Apologies to everybody for my taking so much time.
It's clarity. Okay, we're up to this daffodil, slikusta, that you're allowed to put back in because you already took it out and put it in once. So there's no concern that when you put it in, it's going to move the dirt because the hole was already made. V'ilav aser, but if you didn't do that already, then it's aser. Amar Shmuel, hay sakina debeni urvi. If you keep a knife inside bricks, so that would be a safe place to keep it in the wall. So datsa shalfa v'hadu datsa shari. If it was already put in and taken out and put back, so then the hole is in the wall already, and you're allowed to put it in there. Or maybe it's not even a wall, maybe it's just a brick. Just keep it in the brick. But if not, then you're going to end up making the hole in the brick, and that's not allowed. Now, Mar Zutra v'tei Ravashi Amar begurdisa dekani shaperdami. This is apparently there's like a place of reeds that a bunch of reeds come out from one area. You can slide a knife in between these reeds and it would hold it in place. There's a concern there that you may end up cutting off the peel of the reeds, and that could be considered meichik, smoothing it. Okay. Marzutra v'tema Ravashi Amar b'gudis l'kanishab. Okay, we said Amalei Rav Mordechai l'Rava. Rav Mordechai says to Rav, Masav Rav Katina. Rav Katina had a question. Masav Rav Katina tiyufta. He asked the question, Ataymen lefes u'tznainas tachas a gefen. If someone puts, lefes is a turnip, or radishes, under a vine, and they would store it in the ground. They didn't have refrigerators. They would store it in the ground. If the top of it, the leaves are sticking out, these are types of vegetables that you have to dig up from the ground. You just dig around and you find it. But here you put it in the ground and the top of it is sticking out. So we say that that's not a problem. It's not considered that you planted in a vineyard, kalayim, right? Because it's not grapes, and you're not allowed to plant anything in a vineyard. It's not a problem of shmita that you're planting in shmita. And it's not a problem of meiser that you should have to take meiser a second time because it went back in the ground and it grew again. And v'nitalim b'Shabbos, you're allowed to take it out on Shabbos. Well, apparently, even though you're going to be dislodging some dirt, that's not an issue. It's tiyufta, this is a question. Why are you saying that slikusta had to be put in and taken, that daffodil had to be taken in and put out, and and all of that? Here, apparently, it's not a problem. The dirt moves on its own indirectly. Okay, we have a new Mishnah. It says, if you didn't insulate the pot or cover the pot during the day, Friday afternoon, so then you can't do this after it gets dark. Even if it's not meisiv hevel, even if it's not increasing heat. Kisov in a scala. Let's say you covered it, but it got uncovered. You're allowed to cover it again. Now, Taisuf points out that you're actually allowed to uncover it and cover it again. So why do we say if it got uncovered? It sounds like you weren't allowed to do this l'chatchila. He says, no, that's only because it started off with the lechatchila, which was with the b'diavad. If you didn't cover it by day, if it wasn't covered already when Shabbos came in, then you can't. So we continued that same format of like kiso or kiso. So then you're allowed to open up something that was in hatmana and then recover it. Now it says mamali sakisin v'neisin l'tach zakar l'tach zakesas. You can fill up a jug and of cold water, and you can put it under a pillow or a cushion so that it doesn't get hot. The pillow and cushion are protecting it they're keeping it cool. This is a hatmana to keep it cool, so that's allowed, even l'chatchila, even on Shabbos. So what we learned in this Mishnah, is that you can't do hatmana, any sort of hatmana, even in a towel, blanket, whatever. It's not Ma'asav Hevel, but once Shabbos starts, you're not allowed to do it. If it was covered beforehand and you opened it up, you can recover it. And you can also, l'chatchila, you can cover things that are cold. Amrav Yudam Shmuel. Mutar lahatmin esat seinen. Says you're allowed to insulate cold food. Rav Yosef, my Kamash Shmuel Tanina. I need Rav Yehuda to say the name of Shmuel. I have a Mishnah that says that. It says clearly in the Mishnah, you can fill up a jug and you can put it under a pillow or a cushion. No, Abaya says this is a big chiddush. I would have thought that's only something that's not normally to cover. So that's why you're allowed to do it. You usually don't cover it to heat it up either. But something that you would cover to heat it up. For example, you have a stew or something that if it was hot, you would insulate it. Now it happens to be cold and you want to keep it cold. So you're nevertheless allowed to insulate it, even though that's exactly what you would do if it was hot. Nevertheless, because it's cold, you're allowed to do it. The other one, with kitain, a jug, maybe I wouldn't insulate it. I guess that's what it's saying. You wouldn't insulate a jug under a cushion. That's how Rashi puts it. To keep it hot. So therefore, I would think that only such an instance I'm allowed to do. To keep it cold, I'm allowed to do it because that's not how I would do it to keep it hot. But something that's how you would do it to keep it hot. Maybe there's a decree that you're not allowed to do hatmana like that as well. So kamashmalan, you are allowed to. That's Rabbi Yudam Shmuel. Amar Rav Huna, it says Amar Rav, but it's actually supposed to be Amar Rebbe. Rav Huna says in the name of Rebbe. This is a little surprising because normally it only says Amar if he heard it directly from him, and it's not possible, I don't think, for Rav Huna to have heard anything from Rebbe. Rav Huna is a student of Rav. Rav was a young student of Rebbe. But nevertheless, we'll see. It has to be like that. What does he say? He says you're not allowed to insulate cold food. But Tanya Rebbe hit the but we have another brisa that says Rebbe allows you to insulate cold food. It's like kash, it's not a problem. This is before he heard it from Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi. This is after he heard it. That the Rebbe was sitting Vamar and he said, you're not let insulate cold food. Says my father allowed it. Amar kvar hayrazaken. Said, if your father allowed it, then I changed my mind. His father's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi we had recently we had Rabbi Shmuel Bar Rabbi Yossi on Friday. He was the one that said that bring the hides to sit on. He was the tanner. Rabbi Yossi wrote the Seder Olam. That's Jewish history. We have a Seder. We We have it. It's all the years, like from Adam Rishon all up until through the Persian Empire, until his time. Like how long each king ruled and all of that. So all of our dates come from Rabbi Yossi, comes from the Seder Elam. Now, Rebbe respected Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yossi also respected Rebbe. So at this point, Rebbe hears from Rabbi Shmuel what his father paskin. Rebbe says, "Okay, I retract." Rebbe was younger than Rabbi Yossi. Rebbe was the age of Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rav Papa says, look at how beloved they were to each other. Shilu Rabbi Yossi Kayim, if Rabbi Yossi would be alive, he would be sitting in front of Rebbe, learning from Rebbe, listening to Rebbe. The Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi, the Malamakam Avais of Habakaf of Yeshel Fnei Rebbe, you see that Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi, who was known to be a Talmud Chacham like his father, was sitting in front of Rebbe and just listening. But nevertheless, Rebbe says, Kvar Hayrozakin, the elder has already paskened, referring to Rabbi Yossi. So they had a mutual respect. You might remember in Nida, we had a very interesting Gemara where someone asked Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi a certain halacha. Rabbi Chama bar Bisna, Taisus quotes it, and Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi says, do you want to hear what my father says, or do you want to hear what Rebbe says? And the person said, I want to hear what Rebbe says. He says, you told me this is a wise man. He just wants to hear Rebbe, not my father. So apparently, Rabbi Yossi was greater than Rebbe, at least according to his son. At least according to Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi. They were rabbis in Tzipori. It's a Gemara Sukkah that says, trying to prove Rabbi Yossi's opinion because of a story that happened in Tzipori and what the psak was over there. They said it must have been Rabbi Yossi because he was the Rav in Tzipori. The Gemara says no, it was Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi that held differently than his father. Really, Rabbi Yossi holds differently. Amalei Rav Nachman l'daru avdi. Rav Nachman tells his servant Daru, he says, Atman litzainen, va'aisali maya da'achen kfei l'arma. He says, insulate cold water and bring water that was heated by a non-Jew.
Who's this Daru that he gets the merit of being mentioned by name?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know more about him. We have some servants that are famous, like Rabbi Gamliel's servant Tavi. So Shama Rebbe Ami v'ikbid. Rebbe Ami hears what Rav Nachman is saying. He gets upset about this. Amar Rav Yosef, my time Ikra, says, "Well, what's the big deal?" Kirava say of it. He's passing like his teachers. Chada Kirava, Chada Kishmol. Apparently, Rav Nachman was by Rav and Shmuel. I know it was by Shmuel. I think it was by Rav also. Kishmuel, the Amar Rav Yudah, Amar Shmuel, Matalat Minasat Sainin. Rav Yudah, Amar Shmuel says that you're allowed to insulate cold food. Not only cold water, but cold food. In Karav, Damar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Amarav, Kol Shu Nechel Kameshu Chayim b'Mishum B'Shalei Nachrim. You're asking for hot water that's cooked by a non-Jew. He wasn't. This, by the way, this is water that was heated by a non-Jew during the week. This wasn't on Shabbos. You wouldn't be allowed to drink it on Shabbos if a non-Jew cooked it on Shabbos. But what he's saying is that there's no bishalakim if a non-Jew cooks water. That's why you're allowed to get coffee in a coffee shop. Because even though it's cooked by a non-Jew, but that's anything that could be eaten raw, which water is included. So there's no bishalakim there. Yeah. So why was Rabbi Yosef, why was Rabbi Ami upset? Savar Adam Chashav Shiny says that maybe an important person is different. People could learn from that and get lessons. He has to be more careful. That was his they may extend it to other things because they see what he did. Yeah, the confusion with coffee shops is because the Starbucks started off as a coffee shop but turned into a restaurant. Other coffee shops, other restaurants, they started off as restaurants. I don't know, McDonald's or whatever. Everyone knows it's a non-kosher restaurant. So when are you going to walk into a non-kosher restaurant to get a cup of coffee? Only if it's, I don't know, a rest area or something. Everyone knows that it's a non-kosher restaurant. Starbucks started off as a shop, as a coffee shop. So it's sort of like got, said, yeah, it's just coffee. Then it turns into a McDonald's. It turns into a restaurant. So that became like confusing to everyone. Can I still go there? It depends if it's a restaurant. It's just, it left us like in the middle. Is it a non-kosher restaurant? It's like a multi-purpose, Okay. So what they tell you is that if it's just a kiosk, then they say there's no problem. Like the airport things is just coffee, and then they have packaged whatever sandwiches. Taner Rabbanan. Afal pisha amru ein time na mafil b'davar sheina ma'asef hevel mishachas shecha b'lahaisef ma'asef. You're not allowed to do hatmana after Shabbos begins. However, if you want to add to the hatmana, you can add another towel or another blanket over the soup, over the pot, whatever, even after Shabbos starts. You can increase the insulation. Kate said away, so how do you do this? You can take off the sheet and you can wrap it in a blanket. Very interesting. Rashi says in a coat. See, the Rashi says coat. Apparently that's an old French word for a blanket. Reb Shimon Gamliel may be saying something different than the Tanakama. Tanakama said that you're allowed to add on top of it. Reb Shimon Gamliel saying you're removing and replacing. It doesn't matter which one is thicker or thinner. You're allowed to do that. Also, the only time that you're not allowed to begin an insulation on Shabbos is if what's the problem of insulating on Shabbos? When you insulate it, you want it to be as at the initial wrapping it up, you want it to be as the hottest that it could possibly be. Just like when a thermos, you're going to put food into a thermos, you heat it up to its hottest and you put it in, you immediately put the cap on. So when you're going to insulate also, you heat it up to its hottest and then you wrap it up. So there's a concern that you may end up trying to get it a little bit hotter before you wrap it up. That's a concern. That's why we don't allow you to wrap it on Shabbos. You may end up giving a touch to the coals to get it drop hotter before you're going to wrap it. So you say don't wrap it on Shabbos. However, if you take it from its hot pot and you put it into a cold pot, which that's clear that you're not trying to increase the heat because you've just changed the walls of the pot, you put it into a klisheni, you're cooling it down. So then you're allowed to, for sure you're allowed to wrap it up even on Shabbos. That's Reb Shimon Gamliel. It's mutter. You're involved in cooling it down. Do we think that you're going to try to stoke the coals to heat it up? Taman v'kisa b'davar nittel b'Shabbos. I'm not sure the difference taman and kisa. Taman is probably the lower insulation and kisa is the upper insulation. If you didn't use muktzah items, taman b'davar she'ein nittel b'Shabbos v'kisa b'davar nittel b'Shabbos, or even if you used muktzah items for the bottom, but the top of it is not muktzah, then then you could take it out and put it back. It's not a problem. Taman v'kisa b'davar she'ein nittel b'Shabbos, taman b'davar nittel b'Shabbos, kisa b'davar she'ein nittel b'Shabbos. But if you're using muktzah items to cover the pot, or the whole hatmana was all muktzah, including the covering. So if it was a little bit open, then neitel machzor, and you can take it out. Dim lav, but if not, einay neitel machzor, you can't take it out and put it back. Now, there's a question here because in the Mishnah we learned that the pot was insulated. You said it was no problem. You tilt it to the side, you take it off kalach yad, tilt it minatzad, and you take the cover off. Why are we making a big deal about it over here? I said you turn it to the side, you take it off. Actually, the question is from another place. It says if you have a rock that's on a chavis, you can tilt it to the side and take it off. So the Rashi says that over there, you were talking about you forgot it. And when you forgot it, you didn't put it there on purpose, the muktzah item on top. If you put the muktzah item on top, then the pot becomes a basis. And then you can't move the basis even with tiltal menatzad, it gets an extra chumrah. However, if it's megula miktsasa, if it's a little bit exposed, then this is not considered tiltal. There's a heter over there. What's interesting, that a basis gets a very strict, if you put a muktzah item on top of a pot, then the tiltal menatzad doesn't work. That's what comes out from that Rashi. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, No'ir shel pirsten dakar kazevel. This was a quote from the Mishnah. He said that what the pieces that come out of the flax, you're not allowed to use that on Shabbos for insulation. It's like zevel, it's like manure, and that increases heat. And that you're not allowed to use. This is interesting. You're allowed to put one hot water urn on top of another hot water urn. Those are copper. Or a pot on top of a pot. Those pots are earthenware. Now it says, but you can't switch. You can't put one on top of another. Apparently, if you do put one on top of another, earthenware on top of copper, or copper on top of earthenware, then it's going to add heat. There's different mefarshim, different versions to this. If it goes both ways or not. That's Rashi quotes different interpretations. Then it says v'toches pia bebatzik. Sorry. What? Not yet. You can cover the mouth of the pot to seal it in, sort of like a pressure cooker. It helps it cook better with dough. But not to make it hotter, but just so it should be protected. This is referring to both cases. Putting the pot on top of a pot as well. It's not to heat it up. It's just to keep the heat in. This is a chumrah here. Just like you're not allowed to do hatmana for hot food, you also can't do hatmana for cold food. However, Rebbe hitel hatmana satzainen, Rebbe was matir. Okay, that's what we learned before, and that's after Rebbe heard from Rabbi Yossi. You're not allowed to crush snow or hail, ice on Shabbos so that the water should come out. What's the concern here? Rashi says it's moiled. It's as if you're creating water. But you're allowed to put it into a cup and you let it melt on its own as long as you don't crush it into water. we usually put a little water first in the ice cubes. Put water in a bowl and then you put the ice in there. That way, when it comes out, it's not coming new water. It was already water in there, so it becomes like bottle in that water that was there already. So it's not recognizable that it's new water. Okay, Hajjalach from Metaimnim. Another. Okay, the Mishnah says over here, we'll start. We'll get a little bit past. With what is an animal allowed to go out? This is interesting. There's a your animals need to rest on Shabbos as well. So the animals should not be carrying things around the town, around the Rosh Hashanah. So what is an animal allowed to wear when it goes out? What's considered a load? Can't carry a load. You only violate this really if you actually make it move. It's called mechamer. You yell at it, but just to leave it, it's not the biblical prohibition. But nevertheless, you have to make sure that it doesn't go out. With what is an animal allowed to go out, and with what is it? What is it not allowed to go out? It says yetzi agamal ba'afsar. A camel can go out with a bit. Because it needs a basic sort of protection. Bit is a thing that goes over the mouth. A naka is a camel as well. I think a female camel. The chatam, that's a nose ring. The luvdakim, the prumbia. And this is a type of donkey from Luvdika. And prumbia is also some sort of muzzle. The sus bashir. A horse is allowed to go out with a chain. Anything that wears a chain is allowed to go out with a chain, and it can be pulled by a chain. Rashi says, like a dog that has a rope attached. Could be lanoi. It could be even for decorative. The Alter Rebbe quoted this, Kol Bali Shir. And he said al Pichsidis, that all things, all songs, all the angels, that they go with song instead of shir. There was a famous story, I think in Shklov. Alter Rebbe translated this al Pichsidis. Here it means a rope. Literally, it means a rope. You're allowed to sprinkle the paraduma on it while he's wearing it, while onto the rope that became tameh, even while the animal's wearing it. And you're also allowed to tovel the rope while it's attached to the animal. I guess the animal can jump in, go swimming, and it's going to be toveled. Gemara asks, "My naka bechatam? What is the naka that we said it's allowed to go out with a chatam?" Amar Rabba bar Bachana, naksa chivri bizmama de parsela. Naksa chivri, it's a white camel with an iron nose ring. Apparently, it's a wild animal, so it needs quite a protection. So it needs this iron nose ring to hold it, and that's considered regular protection for this animal. Luvdakim beprumbia. Luvdakim can go out with this muzzle. Amar Avuna chamra lubia. This is talking about a donkey. I'm sorry, a Libyan donkey. A Libyan donkey, the pagi, the parsela, with a bit, with an iron bit. Okay, Levi. Rashi says Libya is like Ethiopia, or next to Ethiopia. Kushim Ba'aluvim. Levi Shadar Zuzi Lebechuzai. He sent money to Bechuzai, Lemizban Lechamra Luba, to buy a Libyan donkey. Tsaru, they wrapped up his money. Shadrule Share. They sent him back barley. Lemeimar, and they meant to say, the Nigri Dechama Share. The steps of a donkey are the food that it eats, which means that you don't have to travel to Libya. Apparently, it was a very big schlep. They didn't want to send their donkeys back. to get a good donkey. They said if you feed any donkey well, it'll also work very well for you. You don't need such a good donkey. I guess today would be if you put the super unleaded in any car, it will go faster. I don't know if that's the same muscle. Okay, let's leave it over here.